He's like a kid growing up without a father.
That ain't fair.
What is fair?
Well, some trees flourish, others die. Some cattle grow strong, others are taken by wolves. Some men are born rich enough and dumb enough to enjoy their lives. Ain't nothing fair, you know that.
There is no gunfire in that line. No duel, no outlaw legend. Just the sound of a man who's finally tired of pretending that life is supposed to make any goddamn sense. Of his endless scrolling, living, fighting, leading a path so he could easily fall backwards again. This is John Marston, ex-outlaw rancher, a loving father and husband, a killer, and most of all, in which we could all relate to as a dumbass dreamer. And in this moment is where he finally stops hoping the world will ever be fair, and starts living like it never was. John doesn't break, nor does he explain himself in that line. He says it like he's already seen the final page of his story, and knows the good guy doesn't win. In all reality, goodness in this world is a myth to him, just as much as his own goodness is past his own. Because in this world of his, being eaten alive by wolves is only just the gist of it. Running headfirst into the same rabbit hole twice is long overdue, as he himself doubts his own fairness at times. People like John are constantly used, manipulated. Cutting deals with the government, you hang or worse. Try to escape your past, it haunts you and eventually robs you of your own life. Rebuild a family, they rip it apart and punish you for believing you ever could. That's not just John's being surprised if the world is unfair or not, it's that he knows it won't ever stop being that way. Not for people like him anyway. Not as if he could fly to Tahiti anytime soon, right Dutch? Ah, goddamn. Let's talk about the second half of this line. Some are born rich enough and dumb enough to enjoy it. It's one of the sharpest things John ever says. As Arthur once said,
"You might be the first bastard to ever have half his brains eaten by a wolf and end up more intelligent."
because it's not about money. It's about blindness. An utterly realistic blindness to the world. People like Cornwall, for example, don't see injustice because they never needed to. They lived in tall buildings while men like John died in tall grass, shaking, sweating, barely living, working their life for extra life sentences. In one mess of luck, they enjoy a peace that was built on blood, a world paved by men with rifles and shovels, and they call it progress? Progress, numbing, cold progress up it, destroyed civilization. But John doesn't envy them. He doesn't even hate them. He just pities them for being so far from reality that they'll never understand what it costs to build the world they are now inhabiting. What makes this line cut even deeper is how it's said to Abigail specifically. She knows the world is cruel, of course. She's lived through the worst of times with John by her side, and was ready to seek the end of the tunnel with him as well, because she wants to believe for a better, brighter future. The core of her character is belief of how much love and courage could take on the lead, even when the life and its situation seemed at their most dire. But John, he doesn't believe anymore. Not in civilization, not in fairness, not in peace. He believes in payment. One simple act away from achieving maximum level of fame system. This isn't just John being cynical. This is him being wise, to have grown and seen the worst of life that had to offer. He himself was shocked of how many times he had got shot over and over and yet survived miraculously. See, he's a part of a generation that learned everything the hard way, as he was the target all along. Loyalty, nah, betrayal. Honor, I guess it kinda should be twisted. And freedom, fuck no, chained to the floor by your ass hanging everywhere. What he's saying isn't hopeless, it's true. As much as I like to be in denial for the rest of my life personally, the world doesn't reward the just. It rewards the useful, for you to zip it up and for you to do what you're told. And once you're no longer useful, they replace you. But that wisdom comes at a high cost. Cost of hope, cost of peace. The cost is that quiet moment where your son is smiling, mostly reading, and your wife finally safe, mostly kidnapped. And you can think of all you have had, but one thing, it won't last. And yet John still builds the ranch, still teaches Jack to fish, and still kisses Abigail goodnight. Why is that? Because even when he knows the world is unfair, even when he's sure they're coming for him, even when he's already dead in the eyes of the government, he still chooses to believe that his family and the betterment of his family is for the best. And he wants to give his family what he never had. That's not a stupidity, that's not delusion. That's love at its purest form. A man who gives himself up for his family. And love, real love, is what makes him more human than any of the other men who tried to own him. He simply cannot be replaced. That's what makes him a father, not a gunslinger, not an outlaw, not a part of a dying gang. Just a man. And a badass at that. In facing our harsh conclusions, John Marston was right. The world is unfair. Some are born rich. Some die in the dirt. But there is one part he didn't say. The part he maybe couldn't believe. Even if the world is unfair, you can still choose to be good. Even if the world is wrecked, you can still protect the people you love. That's what makes John's point of view real deep and real compelling. Not because he wins, but because he loses with dignity. Because he tells the truth no matter how cruel it is. And because in a world built on unjust, you still try to build a home. If you liked today's deep dive into John Marston's character, then feel free to share me your list of future recommendations so we can bring you the most of what we can gather. So lovely people, it was my pleasure. Until the next video, see ya.